Today's video is all about blockchain bets, the one-stop decentralized sports betting and online casino platform. Guys, we're going to be doing a bit of a deep dive here in today's video, looking at whether this project has what it takes to make it to our bullish portfolio for the up-and-coming bull run. We'll be looking at some of the value propositions, the tokenomics, the team, and much, much more. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it. Guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. And the question is blockchain bets an opportunity? Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive. We're going to be looking at some of the details regarding this project to figure out whether we should be bullish or not. You know, some of these projects that are coming out are really, really hot, and of course, part of very strong narratives. And BCB, the token right now, is looking pretty interesting, and it is smaller cap, it is a lower cap altcoin, and it could definitely give us some of those opportunities here in the up and coming bull run. All right, guys, let's continue looking around this website. We'll be using the website as our main platform to figure out if we can get the information that we need here to get bullish. Obviously, let's scroll down. We see welcome to blockchain bets. Of course, the platform, a little bit of an idea of what it looks like. We'll go check out the actual application in a second, and if we keep on going down, it says win big playing what you enjoy. Of course, guys, you know, it's like any other gambling type of platform where at the end of the day you're looking for great odds, you're looking for games, you're looking for sports that you are interested in, and that way, if you have that edge over the market, knowing a bit about the sport, a bit about the game and how to play it and the odds and so on, you know, you have a better edge, you have a better opportunity here. And of course, BCB has a lot of options here for those of you looking to, you know, earn big prizes, play your passion. Essentially, that's what it is. So there's about 3,000 active users. It's not that many, but you know, it's up and coming. 5 million plus in total volume. Okay, I would say that's a bit of a stretch, but sure. 3 million plus winning prizes. Sure, that's very possible. And then 1,800 plus winning count. So I guess there are some winners out here. You got to have a few winners out here, of course, or then what is the incentive of playing? So that's a good thing. At the end of the day, they're trying to build their community based on a fair, decentralized gambling type of betting platform, which is, you know, right in line with, you know, crypto being decentralization. And of course, the transparency that it offers gives us a little of that trustworthiness that we need in a sports betting or a betting platform like this one. All right, let's continue going down. That's good. We have the distribution. Blockchain bets has a total fixed supply of 1 billion tokens, which can be broken down as follows. So 878 million is already in circulation. 122 million is burned, so deflationary, trying to bring the circulating supply down, and 43 million currently in exchange reserve for circulation. So this is what's interesting here, is that it's so clear, so concise, and there's no ambiguity. So I kind of like this. So if you look at the overall distribution here in the pie chart, you can see that the majority of the tokens are in circulation, and they're basically distributed fairly. Okay, so this is really good. We have a couple of the tokens being burnt already, and this is just reserved for exchanges and basically growing that network on exchanges. So if it gets listed, a lot of the times they want a little bit of liquidity, and they're going to basically have a bit of reserve for that liquidity, which is, I guess, part of the game here. If you want to see blockchain bets listed on other exchanges, they're going to have a little bit of that reserve in order to make that happen. So pretty good so far. You can see out of the 1 billion tokens, a good majority of them are already in circulation, which from a tokenomics perspective is healthy. It's very, very healthy, because of course you mitigate that risk of, you know, tokens hitting the market and that supply shock. Ultimately, the opposite, hitting too many tokens in the market, and then all of a sudden the price gets diluted based on all those tokens. And right now we don't have that fear, which is good. The legacy of BCB. So there's a bit of a history. stemming back from the World Cup when they had the World Cup Inu WCI. So that was basically their trial run. In the 2022 Qatar World Cup, they had WCI, and they were able to basically feel out the land, feel it out, check it out, and see how it would be basically some proof of sustainability. And that was a really good trial run. Obviously, World Cup Inu started with to unite football fans and DeFi under one umbrella, and that's where they went further on and got BCB going. So BCB now aims to take that to the next level, aiming to become the biggest decentralized cross-chain compatible KYC free betting platform that is accessible to the world. So there's a mouthful here, guys. So let's look at this. It basically saying that it's going to be the biggest and decentralized. Guys, you know how I support decentralized applications. It's a big part of what crypto is about. It's the biggest part of the value proposition. And when you see a project that is willing to understand that that's the value, or at least one of the value attributes, and basically take it to that level where we can say it's the biggest and the most decentralized, for me that's a bonus. That is really good. Then you move on to this cross-chain compatibility, which we know that here in crypto over time, we've developed, or we've been introduced to many blockchains, to the point that now it's becoming where we need these applications to at least support the grand majority of them, so that we don't have much friction if we want to get in and start using these applications. So cross-chain compatibility is interoperability. This is all a very important and big narrative. So I'm bullish on that aspect. And then, of course, the privacy concept, the KYC free. Guys, you know how here on the channel I'm always telling you guys, KYC, no KYC for me. If any exchange is looking for any KYC, I just go to a different exchange. There's no way that I'm going to be giving up my private details, especially with regards to gambling, and especially to the way this platform is structured. Right now, this platform is structured based on decentralization to the point that the team is not even known or doxed whatsoever. Okay, so this is a complete decentralized application, and for that matter, I feel like no KYC and keeping yourself anonymous is absolutely important here. Okay, so a betting platform that is accessible to the world, so a global type of thing that's no KYC, no restrictions, no red tape, none of that. So that for me is bullish. We really good, interesting stuff there. So BCB reflects the true spirit of decentralization, like I mentioned. It's fully audited by CertiK. So this is important. A lot of the times we have new blockchains or new contracts on that are written on the blockchain, and they don't really go through their their certifications to ensure that they're done properly. And ultimately, this is good that we got CertiK going. Okay, we got that basically seal of approval of the smart contract and blockchain code for definitely vulnerabilities, and recommends ways to fix them. So they went through their due diligence there, which is good. Token staking is live, so you can stake BCB right now and earn passively. That's a very enticing thing in the last little while, especially when we see the market go sideways or the market not really interesting. What else do we do with our tokens? We try to find ways to put them to work. And of course, staking, especially nowadays, staking even with the liquid staking options, gives us that opportunity to stake, earn, and still be very liquid at the same time. So I'm not sure if their intention is to provide liquid staking options in the future, but at the current moment, they offer some staking options that allow you to earn passively. All right, let's continue. We have a couple exchange listings, Bitmart, MEXC, it's on Uniswap as well, and BKEX. I think that's a small exchange, but regardless, that's where you can find some of the liquidity. And if we keep on going down, you can see there's a few little more details. Easy to use platform with great features. Sure, to each their own. I'm not sure if that's the case. I am not a gambler. I am not a part of the target market of this application, but I can appreciate what it's trying to achieve here. And yes, if it is simple and if it is easy to use for the everyday user that is not so tech savvy, guys, that is exactly what we need. So instant payouts, that's good. 100% profits to the community. So that's an important thing because there is a tax, and we'll talk about that in a second. Truly decentralized, we already talked about that, and no KYC required. Guys, bonus. So they repeated some of the major value propositions here a couple of times, which is okay. And you can see this is the end of the website. So at first impression, this website's slightly underdeveloped. There's not much else happening here. And if you kind of look at the links here in the footer, there's nothing really happening either. And if you start scrolling back to the top, we went through it, and it's very, very superficial. Very, very superficial, to the point that there's not even a link to a white paper. To get access to their white paper, even if you want to consider it a white paper, you're going to have to dig around. Another thing that kind of bothers me is that if you click here and you want to look at their roadmap, there's no such thing. There is no roadmap. Unfortunately, there's no roadmap, and you guys know how important it is, especially with projects that are new and up and coming and low micro cap or market cap altcoins. You want to make sure that, there's a vision. You want to know where the vision is going, and ultimately, if you're going to get involved into the network, you're going to want to know where the team is taking this project. And as I mentioned before, there's no indication of a team whatsoever. You click discover, nothing's happening here. It takes you down to here. And if you click community, it actually goes backwards, and this has nothing to do with community. So this website right now is a little bit bothersome to me. It needs a little bit of professionalism. It needs a little bit of work. It needs a little bit of detail. And I think that this should be in top priority in the next little while for the team to actually get this thing going. I know it's decentralized, and their argument is that there is no team that is in control of anything. But, well, guys, there has to be a level of decentralization, because at the end of the day, this is a business like no others, and there has to be somebody making decisions here, even if it's marketing decisions. All right, so let's move on. We can see that the website itself is pretty much done. That's all we were really able to gather. If you look at the actual interface of the application where you can bet, you can see it's quite simple. It's simplified. I feel like it eventually, as time passes, they could provide a little bit more, but still it's in its infancy state. Casino, poker, slots, roulette, and so on. And then you have sports capabilities. You can see that there's different little games here. Some of them are very proprietary to BCB, and there's quite a few, so that's pretty good. And then back to the sports aspect of things. If you're into sports, they got you covered. Football, American football, cricket, tennis, and all the mainstream sports, basketball, all the mainstream sports are here, and you can get in on the odds and basically do your thing. All right, so that's not bad. It's a little simple, but of course, sometimes less is more. And I think when it comes to the interface of the application itself, less is definitely more. Okay, so let's look at this white paper, if you want to even consider it a white paper, because it's very simplified and it's a very repetitive as far as what's on the website. And there's not much to really offer other than a few little extra details, which are good. Of course, we're not going to knock it. Pretty good. We have the contract address right here. We have the DEX tools. If you want to look at DEX tools and their pairs and look at the charts and things like that, DEX tools is here for you. And then CoinMarketCap for some of the details with regards to, its overall metrics, financial metrics. And then the website, the sports betting, the casino, the staking, and BCB team will never contact you asking you for money. Again, there's no real indication of who the team members are. There is no details with regards to that, to the point that even if you went on Twitter, their Twitter, we'll talk about their Twitter engagement in a second, but it could be, I could do a little bit more, honestly, based on the fact that there's not much following at the current moment and not much hype happening on the socials. Telegram is pretty much dead in the water, and unfortunately there is not even a Discord, which I've noticed in the last little while that Discords have a better tendency of fostering community. So again, I feel like all blockchain projects should have a Discord, so that the community has somewhere to go and ask questions and interact and so on. So that for me needs a little bit of work on the socials, and we'll talk about some of the metrics in a second on X. And that's about it. You can see that their vision, let's go here. Their vision was already kind of like described on the website pretty clearly, but unique, immersive, and user-friendly experience, complete user privacy, no KYC, real yield, 100% of the platform's profit is shared by the community via staking. So again, you're going to be able to stake, and any profits that is earned from the platform gets redistributed as rewards to stakers. And this is how it works usually. So this is pretty good stuff. At the end of the day, if you're looking looking for passive income, BCB got you covered. A transparent profit sharing system with extensive analytics dashboard, and they're going to plan on releasing this dashboard very soon in future updates. Community driven protocol with multiple incentive rewards and surprises. Honestly, if it was a community driven protocol, I would have loved to see this project behind a DAO, which would allow us to again earn some tokens that allow for voting, allowing for some transparency, and so on. And for me, that's an important thing. If a business like any other wants to be considered completely decentralized, I start to question how the business itself is decentralized. Who's calling the shots? Who's paying the bills? Who's paying the marketing? Who's making decisions on how marketing dollars are being spent, and so on and so forth. So for me, that is an important aspect. A DAO would have been a beautiful implementation of a DAO would have been really great here. A secure environment for users. Utilizing the most sophisticated tools available in crypto space. Sure. Pretty good stuff, generally speaking. All right, so let's move on here. The ecosystem. So I'm going to just quickly go over this because you can see that there's sports, casino, the staking, and the original games. They do have their original games. This is part of their ecosystem, their internal ecosystem. Now, a lot of the times when we look at ecosystems, we start to look at, third-party players that enter the space or enter their inner circle and expand their ecosystem and expand their network, right? And in this case, it's all internal and it's all part of their, BCB games, and to the point that they have their original games, which is really good. So I kind of like this, although everything is very internal as far as their ecosystem goes. It's totally fine as long as they keep on going with this. Tokenomics, a little bit here, guys, because we already kind of talked about this with the billion tokens, the 182 million in circulation, the fact that they've burned some already, and then the 41 million in reserves for exchanges. That is very in tune with what you can see on the blockchain as far as the token addresses and all of that. We'll look at that in a second, but you can see that this right here is probably very important to everybody. Blockchain Bets implements a sell tax only if you sell on chain, right? Not on an exchange. If you want to avoid the sell tax, you got to get a liquid on exchange, go and buy it on Mexi or whatever it is, and in that way you can circumvent the sales tax. There is no buy tax, but to sell your token, you will need to pay a 5% sale tax. This 5% is recycled back into the marketing and to the development to enhance the offers they provide for their customers. So again, they're earning based on the sell tax of the token, and at the same time, they're investing this 5% back into the business, which is very useful. Now, again, I question who is in control of this 5%? Who's the team that is involved in here? Where are the LinkedIn accounts? Are they doxed? Where's the wallet? Who's involved? A DAO should have been implemented here to decentralize that authority, right? I know it's only 5%, but 5% can make a big difference, especially if this thing becomes a very, very strong player into this, gambling narrative. Really interesting here, but nonetheless, that has to be assumed, this 5%, because how else are they going to earn to make this business work? Think about it. It's kind of necessary. So 5% is not that bad. Let's take a look at the fact that they have the audit. We talked about this. The CertiK audit is very, very bullish, and the marketing and proposals, guys. If you are looking for any marketing relationships, partnerships, or anything like that, guess what? You have a Gmail here to contact them by, and I find that to be very, very unprofessional. Unfortunately, this is not shouldn't be a standard where you see a Gmail account as the main email address to contact the undoxed team. The team is already undoxed, and they're using a Gmail account for their main gateway of communication. For me, that's a very, very unprofessional, problematic thing. They need to get this sorted out ASAP. Okay, so let's move on from there. Responsible gambling, of course, guys. Don't bet what you're not willing to lose. It's all fun and games until you lose capital that you're not willing to lose. So consider that. Obviously, this narrative is a very touchy narrative, and it is also a narrative that can be really, really scrutinized by, regulation. We got to understand that from a global perspective, gambling and, this type of narrative is one that is very controlled by, government. And at the end of the day, for me, that's another level of, let's say, ambiguity that we're going to have to deal with because of the regulation that could come across. And then ultimately, put some pressure pressure on the sustainability of this project. Now, I'm not saying that this is a bearish thing or a real red flag, but it is something to consider, that not only are we going to be struggling with the whole crypto narrative, the fact that it is looking to become a very regulated space, but in addition to that, we have the gambling narrative, which again is also very regulated across the board, by governments around the world. So for me, it's almost like a double layer of regulation threat here for BCB. However, guys, we know that gambling is one of the hottest concepts in the last little while here in crypto. We had competitors like Rollbit that definitely paved the way for other projects such as BCB to come out here and show the fact that there is a proof of concept, that there is a market out there. So let's see how it goes. Ultimately, this is something that we need to consider. All right, let's move on. Let's see what else we looked at the white paper. We checked out the overall application. What else do we got? Let's look at the on-chain metrics here. You can see that if you go to the holders and you look at the token charts, you can see that ultimately this 36%, that's where the reserve is, and the rest of them are pretty distributed nicely. You see that MEXC is going to want its liquidity, and so is Uniswap, a bit more on MEXC here. But then after that, you get a very, very nice, a random distribution of the wallets, so which is really good, guys. You don't want a rug pull, you don't want anybody to hold the majority of the tokens, but in this case, this 36%, again, who is in control of these 36%? You want some level of clarity here. And if the team is going to hold 36% of the tokens in reserve under a contract, who's controlling this contract? And at the end of the day, how are they going to be deployed, and who's making the decisions for that? So for me, again, it goes back to the DAO. It goes back to the concept of, yes, they're using blockchain technology that is completely decentralized, but is the business structure decentralized? At this current moment, I would say it's not, which is a problematic thing. Okay, let's move on. What else do we have here? Let's take a look at CoinGecko to see some of these metrics. We see that right now it's at 0.02, so basically a 2.4 cents. That doesn't really matter. What we got to really look at is the market cap. It's at around $22 million, which is a small cap altcoin at the current moment, and it's in a narrative that is somewhat hot, up and coming, and just in general, that whole narrative is a very small market cap narrative. There's not like a one major player that totally owns so much market cap or anything like that. We'll take a look at the narrative in a second, but the trading volume is 66,000. Very, very low trading volume, guys. Here we're not getting much action here on BCB, and it could be the fact that the market is kind of right now taking a bit of a sideways break, and ultimately we're going to wait for the next waves of bullishness to come in, and maybe we'll get a bit of a hype and some good run up here, especially as blockchain bets does plead its case in behind its decentralization. Fully diluted valuation, guys, is pretty close. It's pretty good. Fully diluted 21 million. Max supply is really good in the sense that you have 1 billion tokens, fine, but the total supply, or the circulating supply at the current moment, is 877 million. So the majority of them are already in circulation, and we already know that there's a good portion of them being held for reserve just in case they need to get listed on an exchange or whatever the case may be. This is an Ethereum based contract. We went to the website already. We checked out the app, which is good. We looked at the Explorer already, which is good. Let's check out the narrative, the gambling narrative. You can see that the entire narrative is not that big. You're looking at $667 million within the market cap of this narrative. So it's very, very small. Rollbit holding approximately $409 million worth of that narrative. The rest of the narrative, or the rest of the market cap, is basically distributed amongst the rest. And you can see that there's not much here. Even Rollbit being the largest is still not the biggest market cap out there. Like, it's only $409 million. Let's be real here. So there's a lot of room to grow in general within the narrative, and you can see that blockchain bets right now is pretty much at the bottom. It's up and coming. It's right up here, but it's small, $20 million, not very much here. So we could expect blockchain bets to do well in the immediate short term, and at least come up and give Rollbit a little bit of a competition, which would be super healthy here for blockchain bets to climb up the ladder into the larger market cap sphere of things, and that would obviously give us the opportunity to make some good gains, right? So let's continue here. Let's go back. That's the whole narrative right there. And if you keep on going down, you can see Uniswap and MEXC is the main. Now, they do have other exchanges, like I mentioned, that are listed, but MEXC has the majority of the volume here, which is not a lot. The trading volume is very, very low. And the Uniswap volume, obviously, holding 78% of the volume is in Uniswap. So as a DEX, decentralized exchange, you're going to know that the gas fees are going to be quite high. And it's very enticing to get on MEXC and trade the liquidity that's available to you there, because that way you don't have to pay all those gas fees. You get in, you get out, and if you make some profit, great. Then you have some decision making to do whether you're going to take your capital off exchanges or not. But at the end of the day, right here, right now, you can see that MEXC is the place to be if you don't want to pay those gas fees. All right, guys. What else do we got here? You guys know I create a infographic for you every week, every Sunday, releasing new deep dives, and today's about blockchain bets. And you could see that, generally speaking, I do have a bit to say here with regards to its fundamentals, and I think it needs a little bit of work. Okay, so obviously we know that blockchain bets is a decentralized cross-chain compatible betting platform where you're going to be able to bet on sports and different gambling games, which for me is a very entertaining pastime, no doubt, for many people. However, guys, we got to understand that from a business perspective, there's a few things here that bother me. Number one, the ecosystem. Sports betting, okay, fine. They have the original games, which is great. Casino, staking, all very typical. Their ecosystem is growing and strong for its size. I think they have a lot to offer here for those people looking for, this type of pastime or entertainment, which is good. Utility, staking rewards, profit sharing, sell tax that is reinvested. So the token itself is used within the application to basically interact with the games, and then you get rewarded through staking and so on and so forth. So their utility is quite clear, and the tokenization is quite clear. So I like that. The roadmap, there's no roadmap whatsoever. There's no real indication of where this project is going in the immediate short term. There's no team. It's all anonymous, undoxed. There's nothing to indicate to us that we do have a strong team backing BCB. I would have liked to. Now, I understand the reservation here to be doxed and for personal information being shared to the general public, especially in the gambling narrative. I can imagine that an individual going on here betting too much and, basically losing a lot of money can get really disturbed and eventually start hunting down individuals that belong to the organization. And for that matter, I understand why they would want to be, anonymous. However, guys, we're still talking about a business. We're still talking about individuals like me, like you, that are looking to buy the token and that want to know where this project is going in the immediate short term and who's calling the shots to make those decisions. And ultimately, the team, at least one or two people of the head team, could be doxed here to give us a bit of clarity, or at least a DAO, like I said, some board of directors that are voted in order to, make some decisions, and at least we can have some clarity as to who is making the decisions. Do they have a business acumen? Do they have any history into the, gambling narrative? Do they know what they're doing? And that for me would be a very bullish thing. Let's move on. So roadmap, nothing. Team, nothing. Socials. Their socials need a bit of work here, guys. They only have 17,000 subscribers on X. In the last little while, their followers have been decreasing in the last 30 days by 74%. And now I know the market has been a little bit dry, but guys, this is time to actually put in some fuel on the fire and get the marketing dollars to work, because we know that the bull run is around the corner. And if we want the hype, you need to start beginning now, right? So in preparation for that bull run. So ultimately, I think that needs to turn around, especially in the gambling narrative where you don't have much of a team or even a partnership to, bounce those marketing partnerships to the next level. At least get involved on socials, especially X. So 52 X posts for the last 30 days. It's only up 4%. So at least they're kind of holding steady there. And that's not even the greatest thing. You're only posting a little bit more than usual, which is nothing significant. 52 posts in 30 days is not a lot whatsoever. You're averaging about, 2, if you're lucky, a day. And for a up and coming project like this, they want a little bit more, involvement on X, especially given the fact that a post, the longevity or the lifespan of a post could be a couple hours, depending on whether it goes viral or not, obviously. But ultimately, they need to get a little bit more active there on the socials. And I've seen that both on Telegram, there's no community, nothing really happening there, and they don't even have a Discord, which for me, I've seen a lot of good traction on Discord lately in community building. Community building on Discord outperforms Telegram by a mile, and ultimately that would be an asset for blockchain bets, is to have a Discord going. Tokenomics, fair launch. It looks like everything's good. The majority of the tokens are in circulation, nice and evenly distributed across many wallets, which is good. They have some burning going, and the staking causing supply shortage, because of course the more that people lock up their tokens to earn passively, the less tokens are in circulation, and therefore there's a bit of a supply shock. And ultimately that has been working with for blockchain bets. And in addition, the sell pressure is reduced by having that 5% tax. That 5% tax makes people think twice before selling their positions, because they don't want to lose that 5%. So ultimately, that 5% acts in twofold: keeping tokens locked up and not being sold, number one, which is good, and number two, having an opportunity to earn. And earning 5% and being able to reinvest that into the business is solid. So that is one way that the community can be benefiting from that staking and that passive income scenario. So 10 out of 10 for the tokenomics. Partnerships, there is none, guys. No mention of any strategic partnerships, even if they're marketing partnerships or anything like that could help them get a bit of awareness, maybe with a sports league or something like that, and it would be absolutely amazing. But there is nothing happening at the current moment in this regard. So for me, that needs a little bit of work. The exchanges are all small. You have Bitmart, you have MEXC, Uniswap, and that for me is not enough to suggest that we're going to get the volume that we need. And the volume right now, you're looking at about it being approximately 0.43, so not even 1%, 0.5% of the market cap is in the trading volume, which is very low, guys. And this number right here is a little bit outdated, because I got that in there yesterday, and in the last little while we've been coming down also a little bit more in the trading volume. So you got to understand here, there's a bit of volatility including in the trading volume, but I'm not really crazy about any of it, as far as getting some conviction that the market is getting actively involved on this network or on using the ecosystem. So for me, that's something to consider here, guys. We want to be liquid. We want to be able to buy and sell. And the only way we get that confidence is to trading volume. Okay, so that's my take there. And the overall verdict at this current moment is basically saying that, look, this is a hot narrative, no doubt. Gamblify, the gambling narrative, even the GameFi, this is part of the gaming narrative as well. You got some games that you could play, obviously, with a twist of gambling. No KYC, guys, that is super important, especially for an individual like myself that appreciates the privacy, and that this is all about what crypto has to offer, privacy and decentralization. So for me, that is a bonus. 5% sale tax is shared with stakeholders, and by reinvesting it into the project itself and giving it some hope that it can succeed, and deploying some of those marketing dollars. So that for me is really good. The CertiK audited contract, very necessary, especially that we're in a zone right now where there's a little bit of ambiguity with the team and and so on, and having a contract that is backed and certified is a sense of security altogether. So that's not a bad thing. The team is undoxed. It needs to be doxed. They need a little bit of clarity there, especially with the business structure that is here. We just got to take it for face value without knowing anything, which kind of bothers me. The website needs more information. It needs an overall next level or a layer of detail and information. It's very underdeveloped, that website. Unfortunately, it needs a bit of a detail and attention. They need to get some, marketing dollars on their platform. They need a proper Gmail email address. They need a nice roadmap. They need everything going on there, so that when somebody goes there and wants to do a deep dive and learn about the project, there's nothing. The link to the white paper doesn't even exist properly. Couldn't find it. I had to Google it, and that for me is problematic. So we need some of that information readily available in a nice, presentable way. Need stronger social efforts. X needs a lot of work. Discord, if they should find some value on the Discord. And the Telegram, for me, Telegram in general, I'm not really fond of it because it starts to feel like just a big message board with no real way of keeping up with some of the valuable information. So for me, guys, personally, if you haven't tried out Discord and you're trying to do some research on an up and coming project, check out their Discord first. Telegram is great, fine, but nothing compares to the way a community can be, basically a way a community can be built on Discord is like no other. I do find a lot of value in that Discord. Strong partnerships can make a huge difference, especially with this project in the narrative that it is. It's in the gambling narrative and it's in the sports betting narrative. If you think about it, it would be great to have a bit of a sponsorship or some sort of league or something going on here that it could definitely do well on. And I know it's easier said than done. I get it from a small business, small project here, not much happening at the current moment, just starting off, small market cap. I get it, it's difficult, but that is what could put this thing on the map and get a lot of the eyes on deck, all the hands on deck, and get a little bit of hype that we need here to see BCB do well. Okay, so BCB right now with the market cap of Rollbit could do an easy 20x, and now I feel like that is still very undervalued in the sense that even Rollbit itself is still only a $400 million market cap, which means that in a bull run, we could see Rollbit do an easy 10x. And then what's going to happen to BCB? Obviously, it's going to run up even more. It's going to be able to take some of the market cap, the overall crypto market cap that belongs to the GambleFi narrative, and it swell up even more, because right now, as we mentioned, the overall market cap of gambling right now is only $600 million, which is very low as well as of overall narrative. And especially in an up and coming new narrative, I feel like it should grab a little bit more of the total market cap crypto wide. So I'm thinking that this is a very modest thing, a 20x ultimately, just to catch up to Rollbit, and that would put it at around 50 cents. But what about if we go straight to the dollar? Nice, very psychological level. I feel like if the bull run does its magic and new narratives get their hype and get their thing, like we're going to get gaming back up in there, we're going to have real world asset narratives, we're going to have the GambleFi narrative, and AI narrative is going to come back and do its thing. All these newer narratives that we've seen come out throughout the bear market should have the majority of the hype. And again, if that's the case, I think BCB, blockchain bets, is definitely going to have a bit of part of it. Now, what about all the negativity that I've explained? Like, there is a lot of work still to be done. And of course, when you're talking about speculation, that's the reality. If you wait for all of these little things to be, corrected, you're not looking at a market cap of $20 million anymore. You're talking about a larger cap project, that because at the end of the day, all those confirmations of all those good things that, are now, that were once bad things, become bullish. And all of a sudden the price goes up and the market cap goes up. And this is where we're at. We start to say, you know what? The true value of BCB has been achieved. Right now, I think it's undervalued, and it's all based on the fact that there's a lot of things that need to be corrected here to improve the way it looks, right? The outlook and the vision of the overall project. So this is why, guys, I gave it 5 out of 10. I think it's still very early, and I still feel like there's a lot that needs to be done to build that confidence. But if you're going to wait for all of that to be done, you're not looking at a micro cap anymore. You're going to be looking at a medium-sized project that has already done maybe a nice move to the upside, and then finding an entry like this one is going to be long gone. So it's all about speculation. And in this case, if due to its speculation, guys, do not bet more than you're willing to lose. Get into a small bag if you're interested in it. If you like the fundamentals, if you feel like it's good, definitely keep up with Rollbit and become one of its competitors. Think about how much you're willing to allocate and keep it real, keep it relative to the risk that you believe that you're taking here. Obviously, I spelled out all the risky concepts here based on BCB, and there is a bit of risk. However, guys, the amount that you invest and the amount of tokens you buy has to be directly related to that risk. All right, guys, we did well here. We covered quite a bit. And of course, we're going to be talking about charts. Let's do that. Let's begin. Let's take a look at what's going on here with the BCB chart. Obviously, the BCB chart did come down to some good levels of support. And this is why I think it's not a bad time to take a little bit of risk. All of trading is about risk to reward. And when you get in, you should be in the mindset of thinking, look, am I getting in where the risk is mitigated? Let's look at this in a little bit more detail here. You could see ultimately you're not buying tops if you buy right now. The top is already done. We saw this railroad track or this tweezer top or this blow up top on higher time frames. It got totally rejected and came right back down. And you can see that the momentum here on the RSI is right now somewhat in the chop zone. Let's zoom in here. You can see that we're somewhat in the chop zone, very, very close to the previous lows on momentum. So for me, this is an indication that, it's either we're done with this dip, and we're going to respect these bottoms very nicely, like it respected the previous bottom right down here. And ultimately, maybe we go sideways a little bit more, and then we go for another attempt for all-time highs or price discovery or whatever the case is. But what about the risk? The only risk that you're taking at the current moment, getting in a long position, is the fact that we can go sideways here and actually get oversold. And if we get oversold, this is where the best opportunity is to start buying the dip. Now, what about if it doesn't happen? We know that in the bull run, these full resets of momentum, they don't come along very often, to the point that we can't even rely on full resets of momentum in a bull run. We start looking for full resets of stochastics or full resets of other indications that give us that confluence that we've retraced and that we're looking for a continuation to the upside. So in the current moment, we see that BCB momentum wise is in a good place, because ultimately could respect this previous low and make us give us a higher low right here. But assume the risk. And remember, the risk is that we get into this level. Now let's go back to the price action and see what that actually means. Now you can see that the overall price action is giving us a bit of an indication, because the indication is that, yeah, we're right in this volume gap. Right? We fell through the volume gap very nicely. As I anticipated, I always keep my mindset very in tune with the possibility of falling through volume gaps, because volume gaps are a level of weakness. You can see that right into the zone. There's empty price action, nothing really here to hold it up. Even if we got this little bit of jitter of price action here, you can see based on the volume bars down here that there is no volume into this price action. All of this price action is quite weak, and you can see as we're falling, there's no volume, and there's no the volume gap is still empty. It's not being filled up whatsoever. So the likelihood is that maybe we do come down to about 2 cents, which is the top of the bottom of this volume gap, and at these tops right here. You can see the price action. You have two tops ready to act as support, and you have the 200 daily EMA, the orange line right here, acting as potential support if the price decides to come down and potentially hit it. We do have a good level of horizontal. Now, this is all in tune with the current thesis. The current thesis is that we're in the chop zone and that we could get that bounce and see the price go up and eventually go up and, maybe go for another high or a double top or whatever the case is. Now, what about if the opposite happens and that we get oversold, like I mentioned here on the RSI? If we finally get into that oversold condition down here, where is the price going to go? And again, we have the bottom of this volume gap, the next high, which is up here, the bottom of this cluster right here, and the top of this price action pretty much. And you can see the volume profile right here giving us a bit of a support. A lot of volume starts to build into this area, which means that, look, if we do get oversold and we see the momentum come down, we start hitting this level, that's the next zone to start buying more. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to put a stop loss right into here and then reaccumulate at these lower levels? Or are you going to buy a little bit of a dip right into this area, just a small bag, and then just understand that if it does come down, you got to double down, triple down, and overall drag your average cost to lower levels as it does come down and hit the zone. And as we get confirmations, a nice W or some sort of inverse head and shoulders, cup and handle, V, Adam and Eve, or whatever it is, right in this area, we start to build those confirmations, and that gives us that indication that maybe we need to start deploying a bit more capital. So again, it's all about risk. Right now, getting in based on this horizontal support is not a bad thing, but you have to figure out how you're going to mitigate your risk. Either it's a small position, so that you can endure a little bit of the dip and get into the red, because of course this dip is going to be pretty big. We're talking about just the empty spot, 40% dip here, guys. So you have to understand how valuable it is to put a stop loss here, so that if it does fall right through, you can look for the next level of support and DCA at lower levels. Okay, so this is where we really start to understand the mitigation of risk. Again, oversold conditions can bring us down to lower levels, okay, but we are also in a spot that we could get a bit of support for a bit of relief to the upside, given the fact that we've seen the price pretty much retrace significantly from its top. And we're looking at what kind of retracement? We're looking at about a 66% retracement from its top. And for me, from a Fibonacci swing low, swing high, you're looking at 886, golden pocket. We fell right through. We're at the 786 retracement, pretty much in between 786 and the golden pocket, which for me is a great zone. Ultimately, obviously, the 886 all the way down here is still very possible, and it's a deeper retracement and very confluent. As you can see, we have the green arrows, the horizontal support. We have the cluster of supply and demand down here at the 886. So again, buy a little bit here, buy a little bit here, and you should be okay in preparation for the bull run. And when we see this thing run, when we see this thing reclaim its previous high and get into extension levels, something like this, right? And we start to see, you know, good levels of profit. This is going to start to look like a little spot in the price that, you know, becomes very irrelevant, and we start to see the price really get up there. You know, there's going to be a little dot over here at one point. You're going to be like, that was where I DCA'd, and it's going to look really, really healthy. So this is what you got to do, is have the convictions and start getting in at levels of bottoms rather than on green candles where everything starts to look very pumpy. This is where, in fact, you got to get really defensive on those gains and trail up stop losses. The MACD is looking okay. Ultimately, we're a little bit confused. I like the fact that we got an EMA cross with some green histogram bars here on the daily. However, you can see the confusing part here, a bit of chop, a little bit uncertainty, and this is a problematic thing, you know, especially when you're seeing a little bit of red and a little bit of green here on the histogram bars. Like, are we going up? Are we coming down? And sometimes it's just like, hang back and wait and control the risk using your position size. Right now, it's the MACD is not really giving us a real clear indication, so maybe wait until that clarity comes and then get in with a bit more capital. And you never know, it might be even a slightly lower low. You might be able to get a better entry that way. Yes, you might be able to get into a worse entry. Maybe it might run up a little bit, but at least you get in by understanding that you're mitigating the risk. The risk right now is that there's a lot of ambiguity here in the MACD. Let's look at the 4 hour. The 4 hour is looking like it wants to roll over. This is the confusion on the daily. Up and down, up and down, up and down, not knowing which direction. A bit of choppy, you can see, but ultimately it's sideways, very, very sideways. Do we get back into the bullish control zone here on the 4 hour and start running? And you can see the sideways price action could possibly give us this nice rounded bottom right here and flat line, and then all of a sudden start running to the upside, where you can put a nice clear stop loss underneath the lows that get produced here, and then that way again you can mitigate your risk. All right, guys, we did well here on the channel. We did well. BCB could be a great project for the up and coming bull run. Of course, you know, make sure to diversify that portfolio here, guys. We do have a lot of new narratives and not a lot of new projects coming out, and of course the gambling narrative is definitely a hot one. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this deep dive video, do the channel a massive favor and slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. I'm going to be live at 7:30 Eastern talking about crypto news and price action. That is the greatest time and place to make any requests for any projects that you want me to cover here on the channel. And of course, guys, join that Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.